Today we're going to be doing a simple edit of a wedding film. We are not going to be using any crazy complex software either. We're going to be using Movavi Video Editor 2026, which is very easy to use, and within the time of this video, you are going to know all the basics. Thanks to Movavi for sponsoring this video. So I guess some background. I know that video editing can be completely overwhelming, and that's why a lot of people don't add video services to their photography company. And not only is it overwhelming, but it's also really expensive. A lot of companies are no longer even giving you the option to buy the software you use, and you have to go on a monthly subscription. With Movavi, you have options. You can actually get the free trial right now to get started, and you can follow along here. And then when you are ready to officially sign up, you can either go with lifetime, yearly, or month by month, whatever you prefer. I also recommend hitting the checkbox right here also to get full access to all of the Movavi effects. If you're new here on the channel, I am Taylor Jackson. I am a hybrid wedding photographer and video creator from Canada. What hybrid means is that I'm doing both photography and video at the same time, either by myself or more commonly myself and a second as just a small team. When it comes to actual deliverables, I'm not mixing photography and video clips into a final video edit for a couple, although I'm sure you could. I am personally delivering a photography gallery as a standalone, and then also a 2 to 4 minute music video style edit of their wedding film. And while it's for sure possible to do a longer video edit in Movavi that includes audio from the day, maybe even a non-chronological timeline, I recommend that you start with a basic edit, and that's what we're going to get into today before we get on to something more advanced. So let's get started. We've loaded here into an empty timeline. The basics of Movavi for what we're going to do today are actually really simple. We are going to import our video clips. You can find an audio track either in the audio library in Movavi, or you can bring your own. And then we trim our selected clips to usable footage and place them on the timeline. From there, we refine, we cut clips, and we change their durations to fit the music. It's honestly not that complex, and if you're coming from the photography side, you can kind of think of the clip selection part just as image culling and selecting the ones you're going to use. Another thing I personally do is I shoot all of my footage either at 60 or 50p. That means rather than the 24 or 25 frames per second that I'm going to export the video at, we'll talk about that later in the video, I am actually capturing double the number of frames required in my camera. And by filming these extra frames, I'm able to slow down my footage in Movavi by 50% and put everything into a nice clean slow motion. Doing wedding films in slow motion is not a requirement, but I typically do it for a lot of my wedding days because I think it looks better. You can see the in-between moments. And as a hybrid creator, to make a 3-minute highlight at 50% speed, I really only need about 1.5 minutes of final footage to make that 3-minute edit. Now, again, this is just what I do. If you prefer real life speed footage with natural audio mixed under the music, feel free to do that. If we all just end up doing the same thing, it's going to be a little bit boring. So make the films that you would want to watch. Now, let's bring our clips into the project. You can either drag them and drop them here, or you can click and browse. I am going to be working from a single camera body today, but if you have multiple cameras, you can add all the clips in here. And if you're working on a smaller project with just a few clips, you could actually go through the clips up here, and you could set your in and out points and then just drag them all to the timeline. And you've pretty much edited everything in your pre-selections. You could also do this for bigger projects, but for bigger projects, I usually just drag all of the footage of the entire day onto the timeline. If there was a specific clip that I was going to be basing my project around, like an interview or the vows or a speech, it might be easier to put those on the timeline first and work from there. The timeline can work in layers, so you can have your main talking on this layer here, and then you can put all your B-roll up here to cover sections of the main clip or to hide camera movements or edits. But that's a bit more advanced than what we're going to be doing today. Today, I'm just going to be making a simple 1-minute short edit from this day. So now all the footage is on the timeline, and if you do want to make everything in slow motion, you can select all by hitting Command or Control A, right click, Video Tools, General, and drop the speed down to 0.5. Now, everything will be in slow motion. Now for editing, you can either use this blade razor tool and make edits, or you can hit Command or Control B for blade and it will make an edit for you. You can click and delete the sections of the clips that you don't want. At this point, I am just selecting clips that might potentially make it to the final edit, so I'm not being too selective at this point. But wait, we need a song first. I like to have a visual on the song's waveform to see the length and help guide more or less how choosy I am over the clips. If it's looking like I have way too much footage than I need, I can just select the absolute best parts of the clips and speed up my selection process a little bit. So good news, Movavi comes with an audio library. It is helpful for weddings, but also incredibly valuable for any other video projects you might be doing in the future. It's easy that everything is just in the editor and you're not always going to different websites to bring in elements, and this alone really speeds up your efficiency. In audio, there is even a love story section for weddings. You can tag any favorites so they're easier to find in the future. The same goes with effects and titles, which we're gonna talk about in a minute. So we found a song that works and I'll drag that into the timeline. And now it gets weirdly easy here. My more expensive editors don't do this. Most wedding films, you'll notice that a lot of the clip changes are on downbeats. It's just the natural pacing that feels good. In the past, I have actually listened through songs and I tap out markers so that I know where my edit points are. This requires me obviously to listen through the song and also be a competent drummer as well. But Movavi automates this process for you. If you come over here into Tools and Beat Selection, then click Detect Audio Beats. Movavi is going to drop markers on the timeline and make those edits even easier for you. Now, it's not a requirement that you make clips change on every single downbeat, but it's usually a pretty good way to find your pacing. But at some point, it starts to feel a bit weird. So you can actually adjust your markers. You can set the minimum time, which will open up half beats. And generally, as long as a clip is changing to one of those markers, it is not going to feel weird in the edit. For me, I feel like this really eliminates a lot of myself second guessing if an edit feels right or wrong. It just gives me a pattern to edit to. So I'm now going through and I am refining shots down to what I'd like to include. My general guidelines here is primarily to include only the couple, their families, and the wedding party. I'm not going to include any close-ups of guests from cocktail hour because I don't know if they're important to the couple or if they were just a plus one. I would rather edit the video one time rather than the couple coming back to me to have an edit request or them maybe being quietly not the happiest with their film and they just never tell me. So I definitely focus heavily on the key people during the wedding film. Now I refine down and I'm left with basically anything that is potentially usable for the wedding film. And now seeing how many clips I have and the length of music that I have to cover, I start getting a little bit more selective and I really find my pacing. Again, editing to the beat markers that have been set up. I'll usually watch it maybe once or twice and then I will let it sit overnight and I'll come back for review in the morning. I find with fresh eyes, I make better final decisions on my clips. All right, I'm happy with the way it is right now, the clips and the song. Next, I'm going to go to text and I am going to find a nice title for the couple. These are all animated and a lot better than whatever I could do myself. Again, so nice that everything's just built in, that I'm not downloading elements and dragging them into the timeline. They're just all right here and ready to go. They're also packed specifically for weddings. So if you want a collection of assets that all work really well together, check these out. They come with a lot of things, but also LUTs for color adjustments. And when it comes to color correction, there are a few ways to go about this. The easiest tool is, again, a tool that Movavi has that I haven't found anywhere else, Magic Enhance. If you put it on a clip, it is going to do a pretty darn good job of a color edit. And you can just, again, select all your clips with Control A and add it to everything all at once. And the great thing is this works whether you're using log footage or a more standard profile like I am here. And if you do want to adjust your colors further, you can go into manual mode and you can tweak from there. So now we have a pretty standard good color edit, but if you'd like to add a little bit more style to it, you can add another look on top. Let's add one of the LUTs from the wedding pack. A LUT is basically just a preset. They'll all do something a little bit different. I think this one here looks really nice. Typically, I do my best to apply one LUT to an entire project so everything feels nice and cohesive, but sometimes I'll do one look during the day and one for evening footage. Again, it's all up to you and what you want your films to look like, but Movavi makes it really easy to get pro results. Now with the timeline getting a little bit more complete, it is time for some finishing touches. In effects, you have all kinds of different options like these light leaks that are really nice and a lot of different overlays as well as transitions. Just a note on this, well, you are going to get really hyped up and you're gonna wanna add these to every single clip. Try to chill out a little bit and just relax. Less is more when it comes to making a timeless wedding film. Sure, there has to be some style in it, but it's so easy to get carried away when you have access to so many easy drag and drop presets that look amazing. Also, depending on what kind of creative choices you're making with your films, you also have some VHS effects and more creative looks as well. If I was doing a non-chronological timeline or including some childhood footage or something in there, this would be a really cool way to make it feel a lot different than the wedding day footage. And again, I'm happy to see all those tools in one spot. A few more steps here to finalize the project. If you are like me and you had an energy drink on the way to the wedding, there's a good chance that you're gonna have some shaky clips at the beginning of the day. And even though your camera's IBIS, it does a pretty good job, but sometimes some clips just need a little more stabilization. And it's really easy to just come in here and make any of the clips a little bit more stable or a little bit smooth if you happen to be moving. Then we watch our final video and make any last adjustments before exporting. I like to export with these settings, 4K, 24p, which is a standard cinema frame rate. Then I watch film one more time on full screen and it is ready to send to the couple. So that part concludes the basic edit, but let's talk about a few of the other future things that you'll encounter that Movavi can really help out with. The next step up from a basic wedding film is going to be to include some audio, maybe some vows or reading a card or a speech. My couples are all real people, and it's an emotional day. They're not professional podcasters that are gonna give me a really tight soundbite to use. They're going to leave gaps and silences, which is normal in real life, but in a recording it feels a little weird, so I remove those silences to speed things up a little bit. So you can come into Tools, Silence Removal, and it will just remove all the silences for you and give you new edit points. And this is really helpful even for bouncing around and seeing when a new idea starts, because usually there's a pause in between. Silence removal is something my other software doesn't have built in, and I have to go to a third-party tool and then bring it back in. So again, this is a lot nicer just to have it all in one spot. Now, another thing you're gonna find is that if you have audio that's not perfect, that you can use noise removal in Tools to isolate voices against distracting backgrounds. There are a lot of random audio problems that can go wrong on wedding days, and sometimes you do have to use some of that backup audio or maybe even a room mic, and you'll be able to make it sound as good as it possibly can. Now, another incredibly important step is when you're going to be sharing to social media, if you do have speeches in your teaser clips, they need subtitles so people that are watching on mute can understand the story, or maybe even it will inspire them to get off of mute and actually listen to your video. And it's so easy here. You just select the clips that you would like to caption, click generate, and then come into styles where you have a lot to choose from. We're gonna pick elegant for this example. The default Instagram captions that you see, they're fine for stories, but if you want something that looks a heck of a lot nicer and it's just as easy, you can just do it within Movavi. Then if you want to adjust anything, you can go into the design tab and fine tune text. You can even export your subtitles as an SRT for YouTube or anywhere else that might need that format. So there it is. Movavi is a simple editing tool that does a lot of the things that I need every single day, and it puts it all in one place and makes it really easy and efficient to edit videos. Plus there are tools in here that are not in my more expensive video editors. So if you're looking for that quick and easy video editing tool, check out Movavi. I feel like we didn't even get into 1/20th what's possible within this program. There is so much more to explore once you're inside. Click the link in the description to get started with your free trial, and don't forget to click the box to get all of the Movavi effects during your trial.